Hello and welcome to my PowerPoint. This is the first time I've ever done a screen recording, so we're going to see how this goes. Hopefully it turns out well, because I found the instructions on the internet, so we'll see. I was in charge of reading Physical Cosmologies, The Shining, the excerpts, and Part 6 by Kevin McLeod, and it's on his website Mastermind. And if you're like me, when you first read the title of this, you're like, what the heck is physical cosmology? So I looked up the definition, if it works here. Okay. And the definition of physical cosmologies is a branch, according to Science Daily, the website, is a branch of astrophysics that studies the large-scale structure of the universe and is concerned with fundamental questions about its formation and evolution. So basically, this article is trying to understand the structure of the world of The Shining, how and why it was made, and all the, to quote, secrets of the universe of The Shining. So we have a little bit of Douglas Adams reference from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Life, the Universe, and Everything, and the answer is always 42. Alright, so we have a basic summary. And the excerpt begins with the scene where Danny is retracing his steps in the maze, and as a result, he confuses Jack, which allows Danny to escape the maze and, in effect, essentially trapping Jack in the maze where he ultimately dies. The excerpt explains the hotel is essentially draining Jack's life force by bleeding Jack, which is why there's blood coming out of the elevators. It also states that when Jack stumbles to a seated position in the maze, and when the next frame is overlapped, it looks like he's being sucked into the photo that he ultimately becomes trapped in the end. And the excerpt also draws a conclusion that the date in the photo, July 4th, 1921, is significant in that it is the same day that a famous Native American statue of Chief Cornstalk was struck by lightning for a second time, which is supposed to be representative of the camera flash. The camera flash represents the flash of lightning that destroyed the statue, which I'll talk more about later, but this is a brief overall summary of the excerpt. Alright. First impressions of the article, when I first logged into the website, the first thing that kind of surprised me was it wasn't secure, and I was logging on from school, so it kicked me out several times, and it was a real mess to figure out. So I had to access the website from home in order to be able to see it, and the formatting right when I logged on was something that I noticed. It was an all-black background with tiny white letters, and it made it super hard to read, and it really hurts your eyes. So I can see if I can go over here and you can see it. When you first log on, it was kind of surprising. I don't know what. There's some symbols here, and there's moons. Another thing I noticed, there's moons all down the side, so I didn't know if that was part of his website or part of, I'll talk about later, a connection to the moon landing theory in The Shining, or the importance of moons in The Shining and Kubrick's involvement with that. I didn't know if that was intentional or not. I only read the excerpt from the syllabus. So basically, the background struck me, the format overall, and the moons on the side stood out right away. And then when I began reading, I noticed many spelling and grammar mistakes and issues, some punctuation issues, which also, in addition to the format, kind of sketched me out and made the article seem not as credible. You couldn't really take it as a serious website. Right, we get to the content of the article and some of the main ideas. So the first main idea that the article presents is the idea of bleeding out Jack, that the hotel bleeds out Jack. And the excerpt basically talks about the hotel draining Jack's life force as he is trapped in the maze, and it knows he can't escape now because it has his mind. The hotel has Jack's mind, and it knows he can't escape the maze, so it's basically draining him of his life force, and that's the blood we see coming out of the elevator. And the blood from the elevators has always been a type of omen that Danny could see, but Wendy is able to see it at this point at the end of the movie, and that is when Jack is trapped in the maze, and now that she can see the blood, it means that it's more real, like it's actually happening, Jack is dying, and that's why she is able to see the blood, is basically what the article's saying, and that's why she can see it at the end, is because it's basically killing Jack in the maze. Alright, the next idea is the frame overlay. It represents the entrapment in photo, Jack's entrapment in the photo at the end. So the frame overlay of the scene where Jack slumps over in the maze, and the scene of the picture wall is said to show Jack being sucked into the photo, which is this top photo over here, and that the curtains represent the walls of the hedge maze. And if you remember back to the movie, this light, there's like kind of the eerie lighting in the maze. This is said to be representative of the camera flash in the next scene, that in which Jack gets sucked into the photo on the wall. And the door frame is said to look like the frame of the photo. And the next theory is that Jack has always been a ghost of the hotel. And Jack has always been a ghost of the hotel. The excerpt states that Kubrick suggests that Jack has always been a ghost and he simply wandered home because of Jack's presence in the photo. And because Kubrick doesn't show us that the photos in the beginning that Jack is in the photos, so we're kind of wondering, how did he get in the photo? Was he always there? Was he always a ghost? Was he always part of the hotel? And I can definitely see this, as I've always seen Jack as a weak-minded person and like the weakest character out of the movie and the book, and he was the easiest for the hotel to possess because of this and his lack of a reason to fight. It doesn't seem like Jack had any reason to fight. Wendy fought for Jack, and of course Jack says he loves Danny, and obviously he's his father, but he never really, I don't think, had as strong of a connection. He didn't really have anything left to fight for. He gave up alcohol, he gave up, his writing's not going very well, so he just kind of hit bottom, and so he didn't really have anything meaningful to him left to fight for, and so he's kind of weak-minded and doesn't have a lot of the self-discipline or like as much. I don't know how to explain this, but that theory I thought really, I could see that one. The excerpt also mentions that time is compressed throughout the film, and whenever we see the flashes of the title screens, for lack of a better term, and it, like when it says the interview, and then like month, day, hour, and then it goes the whole way down to the 1/64th of a second in the camera flash, and that's quoted from the excerpt. And the camera flash is representative of the end of time for Jack. Basically, like, it's the end, and time goes, it seems, especially when you're a kid, time goes forever, and, you know, your parents say, like, oh, we have an hour, and that's forever, and then as you get older, it seems to get shorter and shorter, and weeks get shorter, and days get shorter, and everything gets shorter all the way down to the end, where it's just like a flash. And next we have the cornstalk curse, which was pretty interesting, pretty weird, and basically, Chief Cornstalk was a Native American. This is the statue down here. And the story is that he was murdered after peacefully handing himself over to the U.S. government. And that before he died, it's called something called Cornstalk's Curse, where he cursed the white people, saying, here, I have a quote here. "May the strength of its people be paralyzed by the stain of our blood." And the blood is obviously present in The Shining, and so this goes along with the Native American genocide theory, and that the hotel is built on Indian burial ground, and the statue was struck by lightning twice, not just once, but twice, and the McLeod in the article here states that the lightning strike is similar to the camera flash. I don't know how accurate, that kind of seemed weird to me about with the camera flash and the lightning, but I could definitely see the connection in general with the Native American burial ground, the Native American tones in The Shining, and then with the statue. Or I have some comparisons, which I found many similarities to the other theories we read about and discussed in class in this article. So first, I talked a little bit about the Native American genocide theory with Cornstalk Curse. I could see that, and they were very similar. That was echoed in the article. I don't know whether these comparisons were intentional, but I could see them as, I don't know if McLeod was aware of these other theories. He probably was, considering how into The Shining he seems, I guess. But, so, I really thought these were interesting, that we could see part of the theories we already discussed in this article. And then the next theory that I noticed was the Minotaur theory, just a little bit of an echo, which is this picture right here, that Jack was trapped in the maze like the Minotaur. The maze was built to trap the Minotaur, so you can kind of see that. And then the moon landing theory, which I noticed the most connections between, was the moon clip art on the site, and the ending line from this excerpt, which I actually thought was really a big connection that really showed the similarities, was that, like, the moon landing theory, this article inadvertently echoes the moon landing theory because they have moon clip art on the side of their site. In this article, it ends with the line that, this is in quotes, "the film that never shows us the moon or the stars," which goes along with the moon landing theory that Kubrick helped, the theories that Kubrick helped fake the moon landing footage, and we never actually see the real moon. The American, public, I guess, for lack of a better term, we never see the footage of the real moon. We never see the real moon. So this goes along with The Shining and this quote, "the film that never shows us the moon or the stars." We never actually see the real moon, which I thought was actually, this quote really got me at the end. It was the most interesting, I thought. I have a quick little rating. The article, I gave it 2 stars because of some credibility issues or mistakes, and it was kind of sketchy. The website in general, you kind of had trouble deciding if it was trustworthy or not, or where the information was coming from. Some of it seemed very far-fetched and kind of a stretch to see, but I did give it 2 stars because of the interesting connections to the other theories we discussed in class. Whether that was on purpose or unintentional, I thought those were pretty interesting. Overall conclusion, it wasn't very well written. The excerpt wasn't very well written, or put together. A lot of the ideas are a stretch. There are many spelling mistakes, and the theories are often looking too far into things. They're kind of making up things that weren't there, or you had to really be looking for something before you went in. You didn't go in just seeing what you could see. You really went in with a previous idea of oh, I'm going to find this, and if you're looking for anything, you're going to find something. You know what I mean? If you're dead set on making something, looking for a connection, you're probably going to find it, even if it's made up. So basically that's all I have, and this was interesting. First screen recording, and thanks for watching.